Good day, everyone. I am Shellaida Albiso from Cotabato City, a faculty instructor from Mindanao State University, Maguindanao. I will be reporting about the 21st century teaching methods. The term 21st century has been used to refer to abilities a student must master, such as the problem-solving skills, critical thinking skills, and digital literacy. Some refer to it as the ability to collaborate, communicate, and demonstrate skills that will ultimately help students navigate their way in the future. There are 8 methodologies that every 21st century teacher should know. New teaching methodologies are changing the educational environments around the world and driving better academic performances among students. We go over some of the main innovative approaches that educators have forged over the last few years and that every 21st century teacher should know. First is the flipped classroom. A flipped classroom is a type of blended learning where students are introduced to content at home and practice working through it at school. This is the reverse of the more common practice of introducing new content at school, then assigning homework and projects to be completed by the students independently at home. In this blended learning approach, face-to-face interaction is mixed with independent study, usually via technology. In a common flipped classroom scenario, students might watch pre-recorded videos at home, then come to school to do homework, armed with questions and at least some background or knowledge. The main objective of this methodology is to optimize time in class by dedicating it, for example, to meet the special needs of each student, develop cooperative project, or work on specific task. So, in a traditional classroom, teacher will give a written assignments for her next topic to be discussed on her next class. While in a flipped classroom, teachers will give technological related educational videos for her next topic so that students will have a thorough understanding and discussion on her next class. Another example in here is at home, the teacher will create a video and lecture and share it with her students, and the students at home will watch that lecture and prepare questions for the teacher. At school, the teacher will facilitate the discussions and answer the students individually, while the students at school will ask the questions and they are to be participating in learning activities. Next is the project-based learning. Project-based learning is an instructional approach designed to give students the opportunity to develop knowledge and skills through engaging projects set around challenges and problems they may face in the real world. In its essence, project-based learning allows students to acquire key knowledge skills through the development of projects that responds to real-life problems. Starting from a concrete problem instead of traditional theoretical and abstract modules sees notable improvements in students' ability to retain the knowledge as well as the opportunity to develop complex competencies such as critical thinking skills, communication, collaboration, or the problem-solving skills. Key elements for the project design. First is a challenging problem or questions. The students will focus on a big open-ended questions or challenge or problem to research and respond to or to solve. Next is sustained inquiry. It will bring the students the academically knowledge they know and they will understand and be able to do it in the equation. Third is authenticity. It is inquiry-based. Fourth is student voice and choice. The student will build student choice into the process. Reflection. It will use the 21st century skills such as the critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity among others. Next is critique and revision. It will provide opportunities for feedback and revision of the plan and the project. And lastly is the product or the public product. It will require the students to present their problems, research process, methods, and the results. All these elements, if combined well, will result in students learning key knowledge, understanding, and skills for success. Next is the problem-based learning. Problem-based learning is a cyclic learning process composed of many different stages, starting with asking questions and acquiring knowledge that in turn leads to more questions in a growing complexity cycle. Putting this methodology into practice does not only mean the exercise of inquiry by students, but convert it into useful data and information. According to several educators, the four great advantages observed with the use of this methodology are the development of critical thinking and creative skills, improvement of problem-solving abilities, increased student motivation, better knowledge sharing in challenging situations. In a problem-based learning, the students will define a present problem, brainstorm ideas based on prior knowledge, engage in independent study, share information, engage in peer teaching, and work toward a solution. Present their solution and review what they have learned, and lastly, engage in self-peer and coach review of the process. So, what is the difference between the project-based and the learning-based what is the difference of the project-based and the problem-based learning? So, from the project-based learning, there is an individual or group activities. The teacher will define the problem, and also the teacher will identify action steps. In the project-based, you are to create a product. In the problem-based naman, there's always a group activity, and students should define the problem. Students should identify the action steps, and they are to create a solution instead of a product. And also a metacognition. The common for the both project-based learning and problem-based learning is that teacher will serve as a guide and students will be the center of the learning. They are also connected to the real world, and active learning is there's an active learning of the individual member of the group and also a self and peer assessment. And the fourth one is cooperative learning. Stronger together. This concept in a simple way is a methodology that teachers use to group students together and thus impact on learning in a positive way. The main characteristic is that it is structured based on the formation of groups of 3 to 6 people, where each member has a specific role, and to reach the objectives, it is necessary to interact and work in a coordinated manner. In a cooperative learning context, the final goal is always common and will be achieved if each of the members successfully performs their task. The proponents of this model theorize that work in a group improves attention, involvement, and acquisition of knowledge by students. As a summary, in a cooperative learning, there is a group goals and individual accountability of the members, emphasize higher level thinking, and group tasks require input from other members, and multiple tasks relate to a central intellectual theme. Lastly, roles are assigned to different group members. The fifth one is thinking-based learning. In a thinking-based learning approach, developing effective thinking is a primary educational goal for students. In other words, the goal is to achieve a mindset capable of making decisions, arguing, analyzing, being creative, and being critical. This is the goal of thinking-based learning, developing thinking skills beyond memorization, and in doing so, developing effective thinking on part of the students. There are several core thinking skills as follows: focusing, remembering, gathering, organizing, analyzing, connecting, integrating, compiling, evaluating, and generating. The sixth one is competency-based learning. Competency-based learning refers to system of instruction, assessment, grading, and academic reporting that are based on students demonstrating that they have learned the knowledge and skills they are expected to learn as they progress through their education. And by definition, all learning methodologies have the acquisition of knowledge. the development of skills and the establishment of work habits as their main goals. Competency-based learning presents a set of strategies to achieve this. Through assessment tools such as rubrics, teacher can go through the academic curriculum without significant deviations, but focusing in a different way, putting it into practice are real examples and thus transmitting to their students a more tangible dimensions of lessons. The seventh one is design thinking. Design thinking is an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user, challenge assumptions, and redefine problems in an attempt to identify alternative strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent with our initial level of understanding. At the same time, design thinking provides a solution-based approach to solving problems. It is a way of thinking and working as well as collection of hands-on methods. There are 5 phases of model proposed by Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design at Stanford. This is to empathize, or you need to understand your users or people. Define your users' needs, their problems, and your insights. You need to figure out the problem of your user. Ideate. You need to generate the ideas you gathered from figuring the problem. And a prototype, a creation and experimentation test, wherein you are refining your product. And again, empathize. And so these patterns of thinking are often referred to as schemas, which are organized sets of information and relationship between things, actions, and thoughts that are stimulated and initiated in the human mind when we encounter some environmental stimuli. A single schema can contain a vast amount of information. Lastly is the game-based learning. Game-based learning is where game characteristics and principles are embedded within learning activities. Game-based learning is also an active learning technique where games are used to enhance student learning. The learning comes from playing the game and promotes critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Game-based learning can be accomplished with digital or non-digital games and may include simulations that can allow students to experience the learning firsthand. The learning activities promote students' engagement and motivation to learn. Components of game-based learning includes point systems, badges, leaderboards, discussion boards, quizzes, and classroom response systems. Points may come with academic rewards such as having an extra week to submit an assignment once reaching a certain point threshold. Badges can be given if students reach a certain success level, while classroom response system encourage participation through points. The use of computer and video games specifically aim to produce learning outcomes, designed to balance subject matter and gameplay. An effective game-based learning environment helps learners work towards a goal while choosing actions and experience the consequence of those actions. The risk-free setting of a game environment allows failures to become challenges. And that ends my report for the 21st century teaching methods.